Hi, my name is Winsley, and welcome to my guide to building a ranged hero in Age of Wonders Planetfall. This guide is going to be a bit different than my guides for how to build a melee hero because, well, after talking to a few people, they all seem to come to the same conclusion that it would be better to go over more guiding principles for the ranged heroes and less about the specific mods, perks, skills that each of the secret techs and the starting races have available to them. It's just too easy for new players to get lost in the weeds and to pick things that don't synergize well. So I'll be looking at a couple archetypes for different ways you can build out a ranged hero. We'll start with the repeating rifle attacks, then we'll talk about shotgun heroes, and then we'll go into sniper heroes, and then finally the last thing we'll talk about is the vehicle heroes that you have available to you. Alright, so to look at the rifle heroes, we're going to look at two different heroes at two stages in the game, in the early game and the late game. The first one we'll start with is this Promethean Vanguard. All of the units that use repeating attacks are going to want to be able to try and apply status effects. I think having 3 tries, even with the lowered percent chance of it to go through initially, it adds up to being better. I haven't done the math myself. I know a lot of people have gone into detail, and I trust the people who've said that repeating attacks are a better way of applying status effects, at least in the current way the game is built and balanced. And what I really like about the Vanguard is that you have 2 repeating rifles available to you. You can either go the kinetic route or the thermal route. The nice thing about going the thermal route is I think they're the only ones who have a thermal repeating weapon right from the beginning, and that pairs super well with the Promethean tech, which is also super good at shooting things because of the way burning works. In case you're not aware, let's pull up burning. So burning makes it so that targets are just easier to hit. That's something you want on a ranged hero. It's just, yeah, it's really good. It means that you can shoot targets from further away and have more of your shots land and less of them graze. And yeah, that's just, it's, I don't know, if you can't tell, it's kind of hard for me to explain because it just, it makes sense to me. I've played the game enough that you know, the more shots that you land, the more damage you're going to do, the easier it is going to be for you to take out units that might otherwise survive and cause damage to you. It's, I don't know, something that may not make sense to newer players, so it is worth mentioning how burning works. But if you can get stats effects with the Void Tech, I think they can affect your kinetic damage, or if you're playing assembly, you may want to get a lot of arc things like apply stats effects like stun. Stun is super powerful. I think concussion goes with the assault rifle. Yeah, you should be going for things like that. So more specifically, this is what I would consider an early game build. If you're so lucky as to get the auto noms near you, you can get this, which guarantees that you'll apply a burning stats effect. Immolate is basically the upgraded version of burning. So if resisted, they're going to be burning. Really, really good. As long as you don't graze or miss, then the first shot is going to make it easier for all of your successive shots, the ones that come after the first shot, to do damage, because I believe that modifier does, yeah, affect the other ones in the same attack. This makes it so that you're gonna cause immolation, and it deals a little bit more damage. Is that actually the best one for this build now I look at it? Because if this does immolation and that one has a higher chance of causing immolation, I think I should be replacing you with this, which was going to be an alternate version of the build. Why I missed that earlier, I do not know. But this is an awesome mod in the thermal tree. It will extend your range by 1, making it so that you can shoot a little bit further away. This laser attack was at 7 range, now it's up to 8, and By giving you extra accuracy, you'll not only be able to hit the targets that are further away, more often you'll be able to do that with targets that close a distance to you and are in a lot of cover. So yeah, all around really, really nice. Definitely better than this, but if you don't have access to the autonoms, you'd probably want to put the insinuation module, especially if you're going for a Promethean strategy, which has this right here, super cool. It makes it so you do plus 20% damage to people that are burning or immolated. So combine that with this. If your first shot hits, the ones afterwards will do more damage, and they'll be more likely to hit from the burning modifier and from this little additional thing that happens when you're playing the Promethean. I like bringing grenades if you're going to be using a assault person, because you can run all the way forward and then throw a grenade and potentially stagger a lot of units and or destroy their cover. It's like this one's all about destroying cover, the basic grenade. Alright, so we are now looking at the same commander just in a later stage of the game. He has sequential kill system, which allows this unit to get an action point back upon landing the killing blow on an enemy. It can only happen once per turn, but it also gives you plus 30% damage. One of my favorite mods in the game if you're playing Vanguard. And I think there is one that's slightly better available to the Kiriko, which gives you all of your action points back, but that's more useful for, I think, a sniper than this one, so we'll talk more about that when we get to the sniper. I have the same equipment I had from earlier because I think that this stuff extends really well into the late game, but if you want to, you can always switch over to something that does a little bit of kinetic damage, and there's some really awesome mods associated with that. You can get Festivity or Thaddeus's gun. Then you should try and get those on a hero that can make the most out of them. But I might just leave it on this because, well, I didn't find Thaddeus's gun. And oh, there it is. That's a good one. It's, yeah, it causes catatonic. So if you can, get that. And because this is a status effect with a repeating chance of landing, I think that you should probably try and get the fire fire burst ammo on this guy. It's a lot of damage that can go over an area if you're dealing with kinetic stuff. So you know, why wouldn't you do that, right? Since this can no longer be applied, you'd probably want to put something on here that gives you a little bit of, I don't know, accuracy sounds unnecessary. Mobility might be better for this hero. I really like jetpacks, so you could try thinking about throwing that in or giving them some regeneration so that they have some tankiness with them. Right now he doesn't have a lot of tankiness, so something like this could do him a whole lot of good. I would say, depending on the loot that you've gotten, you may want to choose a couple different things. This could be nice unless you're facing something that does psychic damage, so always keep that in mind. So we're going to take a look at this hero next, an assembly synthesis. I really like a lot of the synthesis mods for repeating attacks. It usually gives you something that lets you get a little bit closer. Like this will make it so you are harder to hit, which means you can close the distance without taking as much damage. There's some really nice stuff later on in the tree that we'll talk about when we get to that. But this is tier 1. This is something you can get right from the beginning of the game. I know somebody was saying that they love the primary equipment, or the default equipment that you can get, the zero cost equipment for the assembly, because it comes with electrified, which is just all around better than any of the other basic equipment that you can get. So you want to, you know, make the most out of that with maybe pairing that with this thing, which is also a tier 1 mod, which gives static charge, making it so that all attacks on that same unit that are arc damage will deal more damage. So, you know, a repeating attack, if you apply that 3 times, maybe some sniper can come out of nowhere and do a lot of damage. Actually, the Vorpal snipers don't do arc, so it'd be another unit. But there are lots of units in the assembly lineup that use this static charge, or use arc damage. So yeah, static charge is really worth applying if you're playing assembly. you know, it will make it so this status effect is also more likely to go through. Electrified is quite nice, and it will go on anything that's not ethereal, so that's a lot of different damages, a lot of different enemy types. This is for dealing with mechanical and cyborg units, which generally are a little bit harder to take care of. Compromised is super nice, though. It will make that fight a lot easier. I remember it being nice, but I can't, you know, recall everything off the top of my head. This will make it so that they lose 1 level of stagger resistance, and their arc resistance is reduced by 2, and other resistances are reduced by 1. So it just makes it easier to do damage with any type of attack, not just your arc damage. But I think in general, most mechanical units are a little weak to arc damage. So this will just allow you to really heavily go after that weakness to certain enemy types, and maybe just even pursue the enemies on the map that are mechanical. Like this thing over here has some biologicals. I know that's one of those old grasshopper things that attack. Some people were also saying that it's nice to have a pistol option on your heroes. Some people prefer grenades. But yeah, I prefer the rocket launchers. If you can get those little things with a cooldown of 2, that's what you want. This is my early game one, so I gave him a pistol. It's not terrible. I think there's an argument to be made for it. So Assembly have some of the best mods available to them when it comes to status effects. That's why I really like repeating attacks from them. This right here is going to allow your damage to jump to nearby enemies, which the AI loves to cluster, so it's easy to take out lots of units with this type of stuff. And then this one right here, it can stun people. If you are applying these status effects and it's jumping to another unit, I believe that status effect also can affect the unit that it jumps to. So you get a lot of value out of these guys right here. I think the Positron discharge is quite nice too. It makes it so you're harder to hit. You got some arc resistance, and anybody who gets too close to this guy, because he's kind of medium range, long to medium, it is likely that some enemies will close a distance and be able to get hit by that discharge. If you only got 1 unit nearby, you can guarantee that will jump to them. Because they do run pretty close to the enemy, you may want to get some shields on them just to keep them from taking too much damage. I did leave this on here, but I think most people would say you want the if you're playing Synthesis, it's Total Network Integration mod. I meant to set that up earlier. Hopefully I can find it. It's later than this stuff. Definitely, it's like a tier 4 or something. Yeah, here it is. So this mod's awesome because it will allow your guy to regenerate if he or to revive himself in a battle. If they fall in battle, they also are integrated, which allows them to interface with certain spells and whatnot. I know that the Assembly also has something that can give action points to a unit, so if you use that on this hero and he can deal lots of damage or stun lots of units, that's awesome. That's very, very useful for you. Alright, so we are ready to move on to talking about the shotgun heroes, which are really special because they can run to the end of their movement range and then use their guy to do a lot of damage, making it really easy to get a flanking shot that does a crazy amount of damage. You don't have to rely on a bunch of repeating attacks and staying as close to where you started out on the turn. It means also that if you get staggered, it's not the end of the world. You can still run forward a little bit, probably, and do some damage with your attack. If something's staggering you, they probably close the distance enough for you to do damage back, unless you're maybe playing against a hero and they're using, or not hero, a human, and they're using their operations that can stagger your units pretty far back and make it hard for them to close the distance. Because shotgun guys get a little bit closer, their range is shorter, you may want to give them some mobility, like this jetpack, to just kind of get around the field, and some survivability to keep them alive. nanites are definitely a really good call for the Vanguard if you're going to be playing a Vanguard shotgunner, because yeah, it gives you that extra damage resistance and a nice heal that's also a free action. I would still argue that you want some stagger resistance to make sure you can get the most out of your placement and yeah, be able to decide what is best for you. Some people were saying that grenades are also really nice for shotgun heroes because they can't always get the best shot, so being able to destroy cover for other units or for them to be able to take advantage of on their next turn is super useful, especially if you've got something like the Ruthless Killer, which will, if you kill a unit with that grenade, it'll allow you to get another action point, which means you get to shoot and maybe even kill off another unit. It's incredibly deadly with this commander. You can get that right at the beginning of the game. We'll talk more about how sequential kill system, or well, I'm already talking about it, works pretty much the same way, but that's more late game stuff than early game kind of stuff. Omni Cannon and other things are similar to this, but they have slightly more range, so you can play offensively. I'll talk about that more later. Syndicate heroes get an operation which allows their a unit to get 3 turns of always flanking. I may be able to find what that's called if I just search that effect. Yeah, I don't remember what the operation is called, but it's very nice. Unfortunately, the Syndicate don't start out with a shotgun option. At least I don't remember seeing that, so I didn't build a hero that takes advantage of this mechanic. But I do think it is worth mentioning, as somebody was saying, you can get lots of damage from flanking and boost your damage from flanking with Syndicate. So if you get a little bit of loot as the Syndicate, you can use that to make a really deadly shotgun hero. Did just remember that I forgot to talk about why I like the kinetic shotgun more than the laser one. The laser one doesn't come with a staggering ability, whereas this one does, so it's slightly better. But also when you get to the late game, it's got some great mods available to it that I think are just super powerful. And the first one I want to talk about is this fire burst ammunition that has to go on firearms abilities, so super nice on this guy. You've also got this little thing which allows you to get a little ranged attack that does an AoE, super powerful too. 38 damage is more than the shotgun itself, so as you can see, it's still super nice. This gives you stagger immunity, so you don't have to worry about putting a mod elsewhere to give you that immunity. It's just an all-around nice thing. So even if you had some good stagger resistance going from mods or rather hero skills, I potentially go look for this this mod rather. If you take a Vanguard city, then you can use this mod on any unit. I think any infantry unit, which hero units are. It's amazing. As I was saying earlier, sequential kill system is super useful in a shotgun hero because you only need 1 action point to use your shotgun, so you might as well have something like this. This revolver, it does a decent bit of damage, but I can't see myself choosing to use that over this, so it might be better to try and put something else here that does like the one of the rocket launchers. Then you could go like rocket launcher if someone gets close shotgun. I don't know. I mean, it will do an AoE, so I don't know, maybe if you want to let something else get a kill so it can get some healing, that could be okay then. Didn't think about this before starting this video. Shockwave Infuser is awesome. It applies concussion while also staggering people. So if you combine that with this right here, an AoE that can concuss multiple units is very nice, very powerful. I think after they're concussed though, if you do damage to them, they're no longer concussed, so I could see this being something people would say, why would you put them together? Well, I don't know, concussing a unit sounds pretty cool. And doing it to multiple units sounds even cooler. Alright, so this shotgun hero is pretty similar to the other one that we just went over, except for now he's assembly. I think you want a lot of defensive mods on these guys. I decided to get this one because I think it's a great synthesis mod for you to play around with if you need to get close to the enemy, because things that get into melee range are going to be in a world of hurt. especially if you are able to stun them with this module, then you don't have to worry about melee overwatch. But yeah, I think this stacks with that, so that you're just in general harder to hit with range attacks, which means a lot of shots will just outright miss you. You won't have to worry about taking damage, especially if you time the use of your defensive mode just right, because that will give you, I think, yeah, 50% more evasion. That's a lot of evasion. This is just the shotgun that the synthesis have available to them. This grenade works decently well at clearing out cover if you need to do that for other units to get a clear shot, maybe like a sniper to get a nice easy shot on a unit or two. Okay, so now we're ready to talk about a late game assembly shotgunner. I have a lot of very expensive mods here, and I think each one really warrants a little bit of talking about. We haven't done any secondary weapons that are secret tech related, but I think this one is quite a good option for the for shotgun hero, because resetting other units means they may be able to heal you or revive another unit. The assembly have a lot of things that allow them to revive. One of their support units is all about bringing units back from the dead, so I like this skill a lot, just because of that flexibility it gives your armies, and also the synthesis in general. I think it makes sense thematically with the assembly. They have a lot of things that go well with them. This will allow them to come back in battle at 25 HP. After they fall in battle, it gives them stagger resistance. You don't have to worry about giving them stagger resistance or something else. It's immunity, which is, yeah, incredibly good. It's so nice that you get other things on top of this. But if they fall in battle, they can come back from the dead with this mod, and on top of that, they get this little passive HP regeneration, super strong. It just pairs super nicely. Now, I do have Fire Burst with the Shockwave Infuser again, because I think it's super cool, super useful to be able to concuss multiple units. I understand that you might accidentally undo one of your concussion shots, but I mean, this is 30% damage. This is 30% extra damage. That's a lot of extra damage. If you go all offensive here and just focus on reviving your fallen heroes, then you got a really nice army. Maybe you go Celestian and give them that resurgence through an operation. It's an option. It's a pretty nice option. But yeah, I think there's an argument to be said that maybe you don't want the concussion. Instead, you want to stun people that do damage to you when they're really close by. That's a fine argument to make. So I like to consider the Omni Cannon a bit of a mix of a shotgun and a sniper hero, because it is a single action. You can get really close to the enemy. You can use all of your movement points getting close to them, and then your last action point can be used firing the shot, which means it will be easier for you to get a flanking shot. But because it has range 7, you should be able to do that from a little bit further away. I know there are other weapons in the game that have a single action, a range 7, but I'm not very familiar with them. There is a Kirko weapon, I believe it's called the Rancor, that also has range 7, a single action. It's psychic, so it bypasses defense armor rather. It applies Broken Mind, is very likely to. So that one is really, really nice. It's locked through a lot of research. I believe it's next to the Tormented in the research queue, so you have to get to tier 3 units, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. Whereas you start the game with the ability to get the Omni Cannon when you play the Shakran. If you pair that with Ruthless Killer, you'll be able to get 2 really powerful attacks in every turn. Same is true with the Omni Cannon is with the Rancor. That's super nice, but if you're playing the Shakran, it'll be easier for you to infiltrate a Vanguard settlement and to get the technology that gives you sequential kill systems, which basically works the same way as Ruthless Killer. Lets you get another very powerful attack in with just 1 action point. So yeah, it's a lot of damage in 1 turn. Oh, and it is worth mentioning that when you do build a hero with an Omni Cannon, you don't really want to build them out this way. You want to apply a lot of things that boost their damage, the amount of damage they can do. Yeah, I forgot to set that up, but you want to basically get as much potential damage out there as possible. Like this one increases your damage here, because you're going to be able to fire from further away. You don't have to close the distance, so you might as well take advantage of that range. Of course, all the things that boost your damage aren't here. This is a great one for them, because yeah, it just boosts your base damage. Maybe leave one thing on them that makes them more defensive, or makes them just a little harder to hit, so that they're less likely to get targeted. Some defenses is better than no defenses. Alright, we are ready to start talking about sniper heroes. Sniper heroes need 3 actions in order to get their sniper shot off, and that means that if they get staggered, they're in a world of hurt. You either need stagger resistance or stagger immunity. In the early game, a Vanguard is probably only going to be able to get stagger resistance, and you should also get the jetpacks. The jetpacks are incredibly valuable. Anything that is like a free action or only uses 1 action point is super useful for a sniper, because if it's a free action, they might be able to take a sniper shot afterwards. And if it's a single action, there's a chance they'll get staggered, even if they have stagger immunity. I think there's things that can lower your stagger resistance, little operations and such. So having a skill that you can use after moving into cover, or just moving around a little bit, or just doing something, is super nice. Like maybe you're going to jetpack into cover and then use you wouldn't use that because that used a full action, but maybe use coordinated strike to make it easier for you to land a sniping shot on the next round, or for other targets to take out another. I think phase shift is another one. It leaves you with an action point, so that's a decent one to consider. Battle plan, it's not terrible, but it requires a full action, and I think a sniper should be either moving into position to snipe or sniping on their turn, especially if you've got access to this, because this will give you a little bit extra range. It's not that hard to get the rail accelerators. It's something that people sometimes overlook, because it does take a tiny bit of research to get to, but it's so nice having that little bit of accuracy and that extra bit of range. The extra range is honestly the main selling point for the Vanguard sniper, at least the early game Vanguard sniper. A lot of people like to make their Amazon commanders and heroes into snipers because of one hero skill, probably one of the best ones in the game. This will give you an extra bit of range when your person's standing in cover, which means it's very easy for them to get a little bit more range to shoot enemies with. You can just move into cover and take your range from 10 to 11 or from 9 to 10. Right now I've put this nice mod on there, which isn't that hard to unlock. The laser precision module, I think, takes more research than the kinetic one that gives you more range, but it's a really nice mod. It gives you more accuracy and damage on top of the extra range. So yeah, I almost always try to go for this if I've got any Amazon snipers in my crew. It's a nice unit to round out the rest of the Amazons, because a lot of them require getting into medium range, so this one can engage from further away while the others are kind of just holding the line for your main person. Amazons also have this stagger resistance mod, which is very early on in the game, and I like it a lot. I think it works really well with them. I think they also have access to this thermal grenade, maybe? Did I just start with that randomly? I can't really remember now, but if you can get a thermal grenade, I think that makes sense, because this guy's doing laser damage, which, yeah, should pair really, really well with that. Oh, and you would probably want to get steady aim, because that gives you plus 15% accuracy when your person is in cover. Yeah, that's a good one to pair with visual acuity. Right, what we have here is a very early game version of the Syndicate Sniper. It has a arc damage attack, which means you can put some super nice mods on it once you get further down the tech tree, but this is one of the ones that you get earlier on. It allows you to do a little bit extra stagger, meaning you can stagger like tier 3 things that have stagger resistance, or anything I think that has stagger resistance can now be staggered with the combination of this mod and that. Electrified is pretty awesome. You may want to consider putting another arc damage weapon on here, but I think I like the idea of this grenade because it can cripple enemies. What does cripple do again? It reduces their movement and accuracy by 30%. That's pretty powerful. I like that grenade for locking down people. If you can't use your sniper, maybe you can go cripple a couple targets and keep them from being a threat to the rest of your army. That only has a range 3, so I don't know. A sniper usually stays pretty far back and deals lots of damage. That's why I really like this mod on him. Or really, this mod, it goes great on a lot of different types of units, but is only available if you're playing Synumbra. So I don't know if you're thinking shotgun heroes or sniper heroes, maybe this. Repeating heroes benefit from it, but not quite as much. And because this is a syndicate, I think giving them that flanker ability that gives them an extra 25% damage when they're flanking pairs really well with that syndicate operation that makes it so that their attacks count as flanking. Where it's around here somewhere, right? Yeah, the tactical advantage, it's super nice on snipers because then they can deal lots of damage and get that flanking damage multiplier pretty easily. The one that you get from this. I think they also have a backstab ability that you can buy relatively cheaply. Is it locked? Yeah, backstab is locked because this guy's level 1. Yeah, that can give you the flanker ability without this mod, but at the very beginning I'd consider getting that, even just to save on the hero skill points. It's quite nice. Alright, we are now looking at a syndicate with a couple more later game mods. This isn't that hard to get. It's pretty much in the middle of the tech tree. Same with Arc Extension, they're both there. I think we've talked about them earlier in the video. They work really well in the sniper because they let a lot of damage jump to multiple units, and then you can apply stun to multiple units like that. I think there is an argument to keep Mark of the Dark Sun in a late game because of that just potential to build up a lot of just damage in one shot. You have to use a attack a lot to get the most out of it, but I like it. And while this is something that makes sense on this unit, I probably wouldn't consider that in too many games because if you get to this point, you pretty much won. If you can get those really high tier mods, you've got a lot of nice things that will allow you to just finish the game very quickly. And there's other mods out there that give you some nice defensive capabilities earlier in the game, like this one. This gives you extra shields and accuracy, meaning you can stay further back and do damage, but if somebody closes distance with you, you got ways to protect yourself. This is okay too. This is also good for a Synumbra player, just being able to give catatonic people, but really only if your primary weapon uses that. Or rather, if it can apply that, because this one can't. It's an arc damage, and you need psychic damage to apply the mantra of the thingy. This Amazon sniper hasn't changed too much. I added some nice little laser mods, which will allow you to do more damage and remove either armor or either shields or armor. I think I got that backwards. I believe both of these are in the thermal tree. I think we can check that together really quickly. Yeah, this one removes the shields, and this one removes armor, which means that you should be able to deal even more damage if you land a lot of these shots. There's also a chance with this mod that you'll just outright disintegrate your enemy. So really powerful at any stage of the game. Well, I guess unless you're super late and everybody's got tier 3 units, but that doesn't happen much. So probably the best thing you can do in the late game, or in a late game Vanguard playthrough, is to plan ahead and to get the synthesis tech as your starting tech, because that will let you get the total network integration, which gives you stagger immunity, which is just incredibly powerful, as well as some other nice things on top of it. But yeah, this guy, he's Void Tech. I used cheat codes to get this mod just to basically show it off quickly. I didn't want to load up too many saves, and allows you to basically use this really nice combination with that easy, cheap stagger immunity. There's some things here that I might trade out, like the jetpacks, for this thing that allows me to ignore line of sight penalties, but there are ways to, deal with reduced accuracy. I think that, yeah, that's a great one. Smart rounds is another one. Burning people makes them easier to hit. So yeah, if you can do it that way, it's better. This does apply burning from the fire burst thing, so that is one way to deal with it. Although just making it a little bit easier is potentially better. I do love jetpacks. I think it is better to have that than this mod. It is a great mod. It boosts your accuracy, but having that extra mobility can get your guy out of some really dangerous situations or allow them to get some fantastic shots with the sniper rifle. You don't have to use this thing. It's just the one I started with. If you got better loot, you should be using that. And yeah, concussing multiple units with a really high damage shot is super powerful. Super nice. Before we talk about this guy, it is worth mentioning that if you're playing Devar, you can get stagger immunity from a hero skill, so you don't need total network integration to get stagger immunity. You can do it another way, which gives you another mod to play around with, maybe get more damage or give yourself something nice to keep them alive and able to fight. Now this is probably what I consider to be the best sniper that you can build in game. It has a very rare weapon. Two really nice weapons. They both deal psychic damage from really, really far away. This one gets stronger every time it is fired. It doesn't have to hit a target. It just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. It already starts with a lot of damage. That 34 psychic damage, yeah, that could take out a couple units in the game right there. Because, some units only have, I think, 30 HP. This is great. It does a little bit of staggering if you need to. It also requires only one action point. It has a cooldown of 2, so you can use that if this guy does somehow happen to lose an action point. Maybe he's not staggered. Maybe it's like that one Vanguard mod that can take away action points. Now, if this unit kills a unit, he gets all of the action points back. Accelerated metabolism is super powerful for snipers, and if you can get a Kiriko colony just to put this mod on some of your units, that can be worth it. It also gives your guys skitter, so if you want to move around and use like this thing or just get into better cover, your guy will be a little bit harder to hit, a little bit harder to deal damage to on the next turn. This is super nice for snipers because it's a free action and it lets you do more damage, as well as giving you a boost to accuracy. This increases target units damage, so you'd maybe put this on a different sniper to give to this unit, but it is worth covering that it does boost your damage by 20%, and it can help other units get a little bit more accuracy and damage out there. Having multiple snipers is better than just one sniper because they'll all be able to engage at the same distance and have a very strong alpha strike or initial strike. Now this is another way for you to, this is kind of like what we were talking about earlier. If you've got a synthesis commander, you can get this mod and then give it to one of your heroes. Let's pretend this is just a hero that has this psi number thingy. That's awesome. It's super useful. I think Aether Storm is something you can get just by researching psychic damage. So yeah, it's super powerful. It allows you to enter defensive mode after doing a full action thing, but the real benefit is that it can cause insanity. It's slightly closer, so if people are starting to close a distance, you can deal with them that way. Yeah, it also increases your damage by 30%, so really good on a sniper. Okay, so we only have a handful of vehicles to talk about before we are done here. We're going to start with the hover bike because it is one of the best starting vehicles that you can get. You can take the background, which gives you this, or I think if you're playing as a syndicate player, you can just come in here and buy it. You may be able to do that if you take a syndicate colony too, and there's an argument to be made for doing that because of this and this ability that it gets. It's only going to use a single action, which makes it kind of like a shotgun hero, but it's got range 7. So in that regard, it's actually closer to an Omni Cannon, but on top of that, it deals damage in a 3-hex line, which means it can hit as far as a sniper. Basically, it's a sniper shotgun vehicle with really awesome movement, allowing you to get into position, do lots of damage to a couple different units. If you get flanking shots and you got flanker, which Syndicate can get through a number of different ways, those units are toast. They're not going to live very long. I mean, you might not take them out with this unit alone, but the other units in your army should be able to supplement the damage they're doing, and maybe you have some more heroes in these things, and they can just kind of engage the same units over in the same turn using this thingy right here to get lots and lots of damage. Mantra Clarity is nice because it'll make it easier to hit units that start to take damage from this guy. You can just mark a couple of people for shooting, and if you've got this, that'll give you extra accuracy, and this one on top of that will give you a little bit more accuracy. I would consider actually putting some defenses on this unit so that they can get close and just get the perfect line of damage on the enemy. If you're able to take more damage, you can be a little bit more careless with that type of thing. It might be worth putting something else on your guy other than this, but crippling could be worthwhile. I mean, it does an AoE, so it might do it might cripple a lot more units than you can hit with your just raw damage. So in general, seems good to me. While a lot of vehicles are nice at the beginning of the game and you graduate your piloting heroes into other ones, I would say that the Syndicate hoverbike it's really not one of those. It's better than the Bulwark. It extends into the late game because of that line of damage that it can do. But if you want something else to fill out your damage profile, you can give it a rocket launcher that should do damage to more units. Maybe a little less damage, but it can also apply a lot of modifiers if you're equipping your person with the right mods. Like this one, for example, is very nice. The Mantra of the Forbidden can apply Catatonic, and if it's just a single shot, it's more likely to go through. Both of these are single shots, so they're pretty good at applying status effects. I think keeping these on your guy can be worth it. It isn't a lot of armor. It's more shields than armor, which means you're kind of susceptible to melee. So giving it something like this that can stun people who get too close to it will, I think, really round out the hover bike and allow it to perform really well in the late game for not a lot of cost might. Although you may want to go for things like Aether Storm or Mark of the Sun, just to give yourself more damage potential instead of some defensive value. This build for the Wraith tank is actually very similar to what we had for the hover bike because, well, it's a Syndicate item, or rather a Syndicate vehicle, so you might as well just lay into the psychic damage, get this Eagle Launcher if at all possible, and try and deal lots and lots of damage because, psychic damage bypasses things and taking out the enemy is better. If you do want to teleport forward with the Wraith Drive, having the ability to stun people is super nice. They don't necessarily have to stay back and away from combat, although, melee is a problem for them. It could be a big problem for them. Marking people with your psychic attacks makes it a lot easier for other people to finish up what you start, and yeah, this will just allow you to do more damage in general. I consider this early game mods, and I think this is a pretty nice thing to rush towards to start getting some nice psychic damage. I mean, this is repeating, so you should be able to do lots of damage with your sci-tech cannon. We're going to look at two more builds for the Wraith tank. This one focuses a little bit more on DPS than the other one. We got this Mantra of Illusion, which will allow you to hallucinate other people. Really, really nice. If you are trying to take out your enemies quickly, you'll get lots of flanking shots with hallucinating, and this also increases your damage by 30% and allows you to do a little teleport. This will increase the range of your base teleport, the Wraith Drive, and then being able to stun people is nice. A Void Tech Commander is a really good commander for somebody trying to make a strong Syndicate Wraith Tank because you'll have access to some really strong mods. This one will allow you to reinforce Void Tech units or things with Void Tech mods. This is a Void Tech mod, so if you put two units that are exactly identical, like that use these mods, they'll be able to really boost each other's defensive capabilities. I really like this one though with this mod, which is a Wraith Tank mod, I believe. It's supposed to be, at least. It's a Syndicate one that goes on heavy units, so yeah, it's kind of designed to go on this unit. It allows you to get a little bit of HP when you use an ability and get some extra damage. If you teleport like this, you'll get this little thingy that gives you a boost to your damage and some HP. It can stack up to 3 times, so you can get a lot of damage by using this ability and other abilities. I think there's some things that you can activate, like, yeah, this would be a good one. If this was like a sign number hero, you could give them the Anthem of the Abyss, and they can boost their damage and, you know, also help out the other units in their army with that skill. So yeah, I think that this is a super nice thing when you combine it with this mod and some other active abilities. This allows you to teleport further away with your Wraith Drive, which I'm not certain, but I think also will apply the ability thingy here. This gives you stagger immunity, super nice, super useful, and this will just boost your raw damage potential. While I was tempted to talk a little bit about the Baron, which is a really nice vehicle unit that you can get from a Devar colony, and the Pteranodon, which is another super nice vehicle that you can get from the Amazon, I think it's worth highlighting this one a little bit more because I have seen people talk about how cool Tail Swipe is when you teleport around, and yeah, having that Baron's damage, the primary weapon boosted up is super nice. It comes with stagger resist, or it comes with the stagger ability, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, this guy right here is something people asked me to talk about when I brought up the fact that I'm going to be going over ranged heroes. And I think what they thought was super special about this guy is the ability to apply random debuffs with this. Who's roaring? Is it that thing over there? Stop. You're distracting me. Yeah, this allows you to apply 2 random debuffs when you use entropy attacks, and this guy's like basically all entropy attacks. Everything he does is entropy damage unless you put something extra on him. It's just a really nice ranged unit in general. It doesn't have a massive amount of range. It's not a sniper, but 7 range is it's not nothing. It's pretty good in general. I'm not terribly certain about putting this on there, but it does give you an AoE that can do a lot of damage. So I do understand why some people would like putting the Aztec Conduit on this unit. If you're, you know, want to get a lot of damage, or rather if you want to have extra accuracy and then when you crit do more damage, I think that the Assault Exoskeleton is a great mod to put on this unit. It takes them from stagger resistant to stagger immune. So yeah, that's all you really need when it comes to stagger resistance. I don't think you can go any higher. So yeah, just super good at doing a lot of damage. I don't think he's at 0 morale because he's mindless. I think it's just this early game and I haven't actually done anything with this guy to boost his morale, like founding cities and stuff of the same race. This will allow you to heal up 8 HP. Oh my god, that roaring is driving me crazy. I know we're wrapping up here, but I cannot deal with that right now. Stop it. What else was I going to say? This, yeah, allows you to heal up 8 HP every time that you gain an essence charge. So being able to use all of them allows you to gain those essence charges back. So lots of healing, very nice in general. I mean, yeah, that's not something I do very often. Tithe is awesome. You can force people to transfer things to you, which would also heal you. If you've got what's it called, Ruthless Killer, you could like use a bunch of charges and then take them off another unit. And if you're, you know, a Heritor unit, you can get shields for every essence charge, which sounds super nice. Oh yeah, I just was about to finish wrapping up here, recording, and I just saw something on the forums where I get a lot of my information. Um, Apparently, this build is incredibly deadly. I haven't tested it, but kills a lot of units every turn or so. I like this idea. Sono Films is a great secondary weapon. It can heal up this unit if he takes a bit too much damage, if he gets too close and takes too much damage. This is awesome. I should have considered it earlier, but I haven't played Heritor in a while. It allows your non-melee entropy attacks to bypass shields. You also do more damage, which means that if people have an armor, they are primarily using armor, you won't be able to bypass that, but everything else you're just gonna chew through kind of, pretty easily. And then this right here will allow you to do some healing and replace the other thing that does healing, but it also gives you a boost to damage whenever you use an ability, which I think fallback counts, press the advantage counts. Yeah, all those other things are super nice. Press the advantage, yeah, it comes from this. That's a really good one. So yeah, keep that in mind. Alright, so that's everything I wanted to say on the ranged heroes. I might come back and revisit this topic next week, talk a little bit more about the hero skills, but I'm pretty happy with the discussion of what mods I like using on different types of units. I hope you found it useful. If you got anything you want to add to let other people know some good strategies, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. If you still got questions, please let me know. We'll see you around.